Hello everybody. In this video, I'm going to deliver what I've already promised, but is long due. The part 2 of the CICD integration with Jenkins and GitHub. And in this part, what we'll also be exploring, other than just setting up the pipeline, is on how you can include tests and automate these tests. This video is only a preview. I'll link to a detailed post on the UiPath forum on how you can replicate this step by step. So without further ado, let's dive right in. All right, so let us try and understand the setup that we have here. I'm starting with part 2 where I left off with part 1. I assume that I already have a CI/CD pipeline and I can establish it. And what I want to do here is integrate tests into it. Therefore, only if the tests pass should the CI/CD pipeline actually deploy my code in production. So here's a quick preview of the simple process that we'll be using to demonstrate the CI/CD pipeline. It's a really small workflow. All it does is it takes my favorite singer and announces it using a message box. And in order to validate this process, I have one test, and the test does nothing but validate if the favorite singer that has been input inside this workflow is actually Freddie Mercury. So if I were to run this test now, I'd expect it to pass. What you can also notice here is a Jenkins file, which I've already used in the first part. And this Jenkins file has been modified to include some tests. I would be posting all of this in the detailed description that I'd be linking to this video. So if you followed the setup, we can already start with step 1 of the process, which is to take this test and publish it to the orchestrator. So I do this by publishing this test here. And once I hit publish, I should see this test reflected in the orchestrator. Now, when I move over to the orchestrator, I see that there's a test case which is created based on what I just published a minute ago. And from this test case, I need to create a test set. I'm just going to call this announce favorite singer _ tests. Select my environment and create. Save. So this test set should be reflected here, and I would be supplying this name of this test set to my Jenkins pipeline. So it's kind of crucial to get that right. So now that we have published these tests, we can go to the step 2 of our process, which is to create the Jenkins pipeline. In order to do that, I need to click on new item. Let's say UiPath Jenkins CICD tests. Select multi-branch pipeline and hit OK. Now here the only thing I need to do is add a GitHub as a source. So I copy my Git repository and paste it in the source here. Validate it. Looks good to go. So then I scroll down below and just say save. And once I hit the save button, it should already start building my pipeline if everything is configured correctly. We can see that it has found the Jenkins file and has finished with a success message. And then I can actually go back to the main file and see if it's building the pipeline. So it should already be building my pipeline here. Now you can see that the pipeline is building in different stages. As of now, it's deploying the test that we just previewed and running the test. So I should shortly see this message box coming up. Yeah, looks good. And if this test passes, it should have published this process in the orchestrator. So all of this looks good for now. And if I were to go back to the orchestrator, I can see here that there are 2 new packages, one test process as well as a process which has been published a few seconds ago. So on previewing the pipeline in action, we can move to step 3 of our process, which is to cause the test to fail and see what happens. So if I were to change the name of my favorite singer to Justin Bieber and save and commit this, change saying, oh yeah. So yeah, with a commit message that is really befitting what I just did, if I were to commit and push this to the GitHub repository, what should happen is my pipeline should recognize this commit automatically and already kick into action. So once I push this change, let me shift over to the pipeline and see what happens. You can see that the pipeline has registered a new commit and has started building. There we go. This is the message box as expected, but this should fail the test. And there we go. So what we see right now is that the test has failed, and therefore the build process and the deploy process parts in the pipeline have been skipped. And if we go back to our orchestrator, we can see that the test process has been updated to a new version, 1.1.2, but the original process still retains 1.1.1, which means the process has not received an update since the test has failed. So this brings us to the conclusion of this two-part series on CICD integration with UiPath, Jenkins, and GitHub. As I've already mentioned, there are detailed notes on how you can replicate this along with the pitfalls that you need to avoid in a link that in a post in the UiPath forum that I'd be linking to this video. If you found this tutorial useful, please hit the subscribe button to keep up with the new videos I'd be posting here. Until next time, I wish you a happy and stable automation.